Yeah.
Phone, everything off? I don't have anything in here.
Oh, one side? It's on one side?
Anyway, it's kind of low. Hello and welcome to All About You with OMG and Friends, where we talk about the things that you think about. I am your host, OMG, along with my co-host,
Silky Smooth.
And Daydream.
and as always, we'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we ask that you please join in on the conversation, where your thoughts, your comments, and your opinions help drive the conversation. Today our topic is youth and minority suicide. As you know, suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death or taking one's own life, however you choose to look at it. We will explore some of the causes of suicide in today's conversation. But as it is, youth suicide statistics reveal that it is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24 years old. It is also the second leading cause of death for college-age youth, as well as ages 12 to 18. Now, more teenagers and young adults die from suicide than from cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, strokes, pneumonia, influenza, and chronic lung disease all combined. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Each day in our nation, there are an average of over 3,041 attempts by young people grades 9 through 12. And that these percentages can easily be exponentially grown because of the fact that you now have 7th and 8th graders getting engaged in committing suicide as well. 5 out of 4 teens who attempt suicide have even clear warning signs. We just have to pay attention, family. You know, and as I said earlier, suicide can be caused by several things, such as depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, personality disorders, substance abuse, including alcoholism. Some suicides are impulsive acts due to stress, such as from financial situations, relationship troubles, or bullying. Some suicides are caused by identity issues among LGBT students. And also, you know, a lot of it has to do with just not having anyone to talk to and feeling hopeless. So we have in our studio with us today a licensed clinical forensic psychologist by the name of Dr. Eboni Butler, and she is our show psychologist. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We just need you to talk to us about what's happening right now. I mean, I'm hearing more and more about it. I think the last suicide that I heard, and this was an older person, of course, was Tina Turner's son, who hanged himself. What is it with, what's happening now? What's the pressure?
It's an easy way out for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people don't want to have to deal with what it takes to get through the issue. So they see it as an easy way out. It's the escape that they are looking for.
But it's an escape with no return. I mean, it's just gone.
It
It's
is.
done.
It is.
Once and done.
Right, you can't come back and tell about it.
Right,
Right.
it's done.
But that lets you know the state of mind that people are in once they do that, when they feel as if they rather end it today than to see the light of tomorrow to work on it.
Well, I see suicide as something that's very selfish. It's extremely
It is.
selfish to me because you're concerned about your feeling, what you're going through, without putting any thought to how everybody else is going to be affected by that. Because it's not once I've gone through and done this, great, then everything's done and over with. No, there's still the aftermath that
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
else has to deal
Yeah,
with.
grieving and
You know, and a lot of that I feel is that's the society that we've created. It's all about me, 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 me. And that's why I feel there's an increase in suicide because we haven't prepared anybody how to handle any of this.
that's true.
At
That's
some
a
level,
common,
yes,
yeah.
that is probably true. On the person that is going through it, all they see is doom and gloom. So they feel as if you are better off without me here. If I am not here, maybe the pressure will be alleviated from the situation. Maybe we won't have the same issues. Yes, selfish, I can definitely see that, but it is perspective for some people. if I'm going, you don't understand what I'm going through because you ain't never been through it.
Right.
So you can't really say, well, you know, the act was selfish at that time. At that time, the place they were in could have been, this is it. Like, they are better off with
All you have to do is share whatever's going on in your life.
That's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
I mean, how many times have we said, I'm going to talk to somebody, and or we call somebody and we divert the conversation from what the original topic should have been, or I called you for this reason, but I didn't bring that up
Or
because
we just
I'm
avoid,
uncomfortable.
or we just completely avoid people. I know I'm one of those, and my friends actually pointed it out to me. They were like, well, Daydream, we know when you're going through something or you're like really stressed or whatever, because you get real quiet and we don't hear from you.
I do the same.
But I really just go inside and just kind of stay to myself, and so they'll hit me up to just say hi, but because they know there's something that's going on, and they actually had to point that out, because I felt like, okay, I'm just going to go through everything normal and I'm keeping this smile on my face, and they were like, no, you just stay to yourself and you just kind of push everybody else away. So we let you have your time and your space, and then that's when they start, okay, it's been a little long, enough time. So it is easier said than done.
But that becomes routine. And so that is what leads people to actually kill themselves. Because when you think about it, people are like, I'm just going to give this person time.
Right.
And sometimes it's not time that
And
you need.
sometimes it is not time that people need. Sometimes people need the intervention. But for us, we try to respect the people's time, their boundaries, whatever they are going through what they need at that time, and then it becomes too late.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a matter of being able to balance the two. How can I give you your time and your space without
Overpowering you, overwhelming you.
intruding on what you need, but also at some point in time saving you?
I'm kind of like Daydream. I tend to go to myself when I'm going through some
I think
things
most
and
people do.
tend to get a little quiet.
You know?
I don't feel like the world's better off without me, but I feel like, man, I sure wish I could switch my situation around in a quick time. But I tend to go away and try to think. And I agree with you also. I do feel like it's selfish. I feel like it's not fair. And even if you leave a note, you still don't have any answers.
Right.
Leaving a note doesn't help people.
Right.
So if they think, well, if I leave a note, people go, oh, okay, well, that's right, she committed suicide, let's go on with our lives. No, you've changed some people's lives forever because of that. And leaving a note doesn't help, doesn't solve anything, it doesn't make anyone feel better.
Well, Doc, is it not true that most of us go inward? We become introverted when we have issues?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's common. So what is it that differentiates us, from being able to, I go inward. I'm the only child, so I'm used to processing and working through things myself. But when I come out of it, I mean, I'm not so deep into it that I am just removed from life, from friends, from people, but I just need my space to process and get myself together. But what is the difference in what we're capable of doing and these other people are not?
The inability to cope.
Or the inability to come out of it? Can they not come, like when they go in, can they not see their way to get back out of the in?
There's light somewhere down there.
There is light, but it depends on how far in the person is on the situation. Depends on what are the circumstances surrounding the situation. If there is ever a point in which they see the light, can I ever see the light? Some people are so just internally doom and gloom. This is what they know.
Wow.
Absolutely. I have or had a few friends. Always hindsight, right?
Yes,
Who, God, they're just so negative. They're this, they're that, and now I'm wondering, okay, was it really negative? No, is it? Am I missing something? That was, their way of basically crying for help, but we were just too oblivious to see it, and we just saw it as, it's a negative attitude when it could be something more.
Well, we're getting ready to go to break. We'll be right back. But before we do, we'd like for you to at least call in 789-0096, area code 713.
Yeah, Brian, Chip, and Deborah, and I'll make an announcement when they come back.
Can we check the volume on the phone? Brian is saying that it's real low on the Facebook feed, so I don't know if the volume is up on the phone.
You are listening to The Bridge. Share your opinion by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Rick Locker. And I'm Sharon.
Okay, so it's probably because
We are Heart to Heart.
it's pressed on down on the volume.
Like radio every
Friday evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
As we discuss the Word of God and
It's because it was pressed on this.
religion,
Okay.
volume was
social,
pressed on.
economic, cultural, relational,
so
and
he's-
our favorite,
Yeah.
marriage and the family.
Tune in and join us for a
Heart-to-heart conversation.
Reading a good book is intimate self-indulgence. Hi, this is Sophie Smooth with the All About You show. I recommend
that's not gonna
Key
work.
Ingredients to Loving Yourself, Nourishment from the Inside Out by Gloria Davis Armstrong. Each page is like a pilgrimage to self-discovery. Unlock your ingredients to loving yourself more. This book will stimulate your senses. Begin your journey to self-love today by visiting keys2loveself.com and place your order. That's keys2loveself.com.
We're Couch to Kitchen
Kids Edition. And we're on a mission to get kids off the couch and into the kitchen, cooking from the colors of the rainbow.
I'm Chase,
I'm Chance. I'm Cassidy. And I'm Chandler.
and you're tuned in to The Bridge.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, and you are listening to All About You with OMG and Friends, where we are discussing youth and minority suicide with our show psychologist, Dr. Eboni Butler, and she is a licensed clinical forensic psychologist who's speaking with us now on the topic of suicide. So what were we? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Deborah Harris, for checking in with us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Deborah.
And Brian Causey, today is his birthday.
Happy birthday.
birthday, Brian! Thank you for checking in.
Okay, so back to where we were. Coping mechanism. What differentiates one teenager from coping and another one not being able to? You know, because a lot of suicides. You know, I talked to someone last week only to find out that Montgomery County is one of the highest ranked counties in Texas for suicide.
Correct.
That's a very wealthy county.
Yes.
Okay.
Parts of it.
Okay.
Parts of it.
Okay, so I don't know where they're having the infusion of these kids. One lady that I spoke with said that her son's senior year, a couple years ago, 6 teens killed themselves. How does something like that happen?
They all got together and decided we're
No,
gonna
it
off
wasn't done.
ourselves?
It wasn't done simultaneously.
No,
I mean,
no,
it
it wasn't a group.
No,
Oh,
it wasn't
excuse me.
mass. You know, no, it wasn't mass suicide. No, it wasn't one of those. But over a period of time, within the course of a month or two, 6 kids. One hanged themselves, one shot themselves. What is it that we can give kids so that they can realize, come to us, there's an outlet, there's something you can do about this?
I think it's being open with children. So kids these days are completely open. Everything is
Everything.
Everything's on social media. They are expressive. I think older generations are not as expressive. So when they start to come and talk, a lot of times they're met with resistance for one.
Right.
A lack of understanding for two, and because parents aren't comfortable with feelings, therefore they don't know how to
Convey
process
any of
them
that
with
with
the children. So therefore they are stuck. Who do you go to? What do you do? I am experiencing all of these things that probably your parents never experienced, just with life changing. Who do I talk to? Where do I go? I talk to somebody else my age, and they're going through the same thing. Well, hey, we're going to come up with this plan. Like, let's do this. If this is the case, hey.
Didn't they have some suicides before at one point where they were doing it in groups? Yeah.
Virgin suicides.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that you mention
Right.
it, yeah.
And so that is where they go. That is the easiest way out, because kids these days are about immediacy. How can I alleviate the pain, instant gratification immediately, versus having to work through the process, because the process is hard. The process is hard for adults, so you can only imagine a kid who's cognitively not able to process
Even
it all,
process that.
being thrown into adult situations, because kids these days are in adult situations. They
Early.
they don't get a chance to be children anymore until they are 18. They are six years old. Some of them are faced with trials and tribulations that most adults may not face. So
I
they
see
don't.
that with the kids I teach. They're
Yeah.
they're having to care for siblings, they're having to do the grocery shopping,
Oh, yeah, it's
they're
not
having to keep the
different
house
than all the
clean, and
same
they will
stuff
have to
that we
leave
did.
school to go to work and say, well, I gotta go take care of my sister's child. I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But there is no difference. You are right, because
Yeah, we did all those same
you
things.
did all
Yeah.
of those things, but you did those without all the extras.
That's
So
true.
you knew that this was what I needed to do. It wasn't like I need to do this because I can't go do this. And all the extra wasn't available to you. So you knew what routine was. Mom said, hey, I need to do this, X, Y, and Z. Well, now, mom is somewhere doing what she gotta do. She's working 2-3 jobs. You know, there's all types of social media outlets. There's all types of ways to connect, all types of things for kids to keep busy. So now you tell a kid, I gotta stay home and do what? Like, that's not
So
gonna work.
social media
Well,
raising
well,
the
not-
kids now.
Yeah,
Oh,
not even
absolutely.
just that. What I was gonna say, OMG, is the difference. Yes, it's all the same things that we did growing up. The biggest difference is that we actually still had our parents.
Yes.
We have, like Dr. Butler said, we have social media that's raising our kids. We have reality TV. So we at least had
All
that
the
base
wrong
and that
things.
foundation, and that's why we're able to cope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we were taught those skills. We had someone who provided those skills and showed us, whereas now it's just, well, here, do this, do that, be the adult. I know you're 6 and you're 8 years old, but be the adult, figure it out and take care of it because I'm too busy. I got other things to do.
Well, that comes with critical thinking as well. You know, we used to, I don't think kids know what the path of making good decisions.
But that's,
Right.
that's a school issue too. So you know,
Okay.
school has a lot to do with preparing kids for critical thinking skills.
But it all starts at home.
That's
It
part
does.
of what I do.
It all starts
It
at home.
does.
The reason our education system has gotten so crappy, to put it nicely, and has become all about passing a test and for funding, it's because parents stopped being involved. They stopped trying to do this, do that, and now parents just send kids to school as their babysitter. There were so many times that we would get complaints. We try to talk to a parent. As a juvenile probation officer, trying to talk to a parent about their kid that's already
yes.
in trouble,
Yeah.
and the response was, I don't have time for this. I'm at work. Deal with it. That's your job.
I can't imagine something.
Somebody's saying something like that. I have a question, and maybe some level of morbidity attached to it, but is there a difference between the way boys commit suicide and the way girls commit suicide? Because when you're talking about shooting, a person, if they shoot themselves, they really plan to die. A person may be slitting their wrists or taking pills. I'm thinking they're hoping to be found. And I'm wondering, is there a difference in the way males commit suicide and in the way females commit suicide?
You know, I don't know if there's a study that has been conducted on that, but that is going to be a good study. I'm going to write that down.
See, and my thought would be, if it's something that I'm gonna do, I'm so conscious of how I'm gonna be found and who might find me. No, seriously,
I'm like that too.
who might find me, because I'm already gonna cause this pain to my family. But if my mom walks in to see that, and I say that because I actually had to clean someone up from an attempt, and I did that because I didn't want their mother to see them that way. It was bad enough they knew that they were going through this and were on their way to the hospital for them,
Right.
but I didn't want their mother to see them that way. So that would be my thing about how I would do it, is I don't want to further traumatize that person who's going to find me.
Right,
You know?
and I'm wondering, if is the person thinking that, do boys care about that more than girls, or do girls care about that? Because I'm concerned about this. How am I going to be found, and
Right.
who's going to find me? So forget it. I'm not doing
That's
it.
giving a
But you're
lot
not
of
in a
thought to-
destitute state. When you are in a destitute state, it doesn't
You don't
really
care.
matter
You
at
don't
that
matter.
point.
Yeah,
It is
it's
just
careless.
get it done.
Whatever's there.
Whatever is there.
Any means necessary.
And so that is a lot of times where people separate who is actually going to be serious from it and who isn't going to be serious from it. So people don't take suicide seriously because there's a lot of people who superficially do things or do it for the attention seeking and do it for that. And so it takes away from the root of the issue, which is, what is the problem? Because you have so many people seeking attention that they do things
Attention is the new
that
currency? Is that what we-
takes away from what the actual problem is for those who are having problems. And so I'm sure you find that in juvenile probation, why a child did this. I need the attention from my mom. So if I know if I do this, then
This
this is
she'll
going to
come
get
right,
her
right.
attention.
Right.
Versus the kid who is being molested and doesn't know, and this kid is over here, really cutting a child's wrist. But we see so many risk cutters, or so many people superficially cutting, that we
self-mutilation.
become desensitized to what suicide is. And so I think that's why it flies under the radars, because there's a level of desensitization about it.
Well, basically, it says here some of the facts about suicide in the United States is that mainly, well, it says men, more so to answer Sylvia's question, is that men die by suicide 3 times more than women. So I'm assuming boys probably internalized and are more successful at completing the process of suicide. See, a woman, I think we may want the attention, or we're mad because even relationship-wise, women will threaten their own lives, or teens will threaten their lives because of a boyfriend.
But we're process-oriented, so we think about the process. Men are solution-focused, so they just focus on what's going to be the end result. That is probably the major difference between how men and women think when it comes to that. But another surprising fact is that older, elderly white men, they have the highest rate of suicide.
I saw that here, yeah. White males account for 7 out of 10
Did they say
suicides in
that?
2016.
Why?
I'm looking at it now.
They have
Why
the highest
do
rate.
what? Really?
Why?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you know, and I have something.
They have everything.
And I have something written in here. Have something in
It's
here
their
as well
world.
that
We just
speaks.
pay rent.
You know,
But
at one point we thought that suicide was a white thing
Yes.
because black people did
Yes.
not commit suicide.
Yes.
So now that has changed, and so we see now that it's a situation where it's white youth, minorities,
Correct.
Hispanic.
Correct.
You know, everybody kind of gets into it. And believe it or not, a lot of Pacific, Alaskans, and
Right.
Indians,
Islanders.
yeah, islanders have a very high propensity for suicide.
Yes.
Now that I'm shocked by.
No, I could understand that. When I went to Hawaii, I went there for a week. By Wednesday, I wanted to get off the island. I couldn't stand it because Oahu was only 21 miles, and you had a few ways off. You could swim off, you could fly off, or you could take a boat off. And if you
Helicopter,
flew
the
or
helicopter,
helicopter,
too.
no, but those things are expensive. So, and the cost of living in there is
It's
some
very
people
high.
don't even have
It's way
stoves.
high.
So you're stuck. So I can kind of see that because by Wednesday I said, boy, I'm sick of this place. You know, I was sick of the lays and I was sick of all of the music and I wanted to go back to the mainland because
Where
you could
confusion
move
is.
around where the confusion was, right?
See, I like Hawaii. You know, Hawaii is one of my favorite places, but it is a place where I can enjoy the Pacific Ocean. I can enjoy the island of Oahu and Kona Kalua and the coffee and all the stuff that comes with it, blue, but in the same vein,
so
when it's time for me to go back, then I get sad. Then I can almost wish to stay there. So I don't understand how people in a paradise environment,
Isolation.
what
I
do you
asked
have?
somebody
It's
that
isolation.
question, and the woman that I asked, she said, I haven't seen my family in 9 years. I can't afford to fly back. And I remember how expensive it was going, so I could see feeling sad.
Yeah.
You are isolated. Again, you can swim off, you can take a boat off, or you can fly off or a helicopter, but, taking public transportation is expensive. And she said she married somebody from there, but she wasn't happy being there. She wanted to go back to the mainland, and they said when young people go away to college and they go to the mainland, they do not come back.
It says suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. I can't believe that with all the different things that I
Opportunities.
mentioned, AIDS and cancer and all these other things, that it actually is higher than all of these numbers combined. I don't think we're being given that kind of information unless you go looking for it. I don't think we know
No,
about the amount of suicides that's actually happening out here.
Well, I think once you start actually putting into great detail how many suicides there are, it causes us to reflect as a society
How bad we
on what we
Yeah.
are doing to cause this rate to be so high. So then we'll have to start evaluating lots of things, just who we are culturally, who we are, how we deal with people, spiritually. Like there'll be a lot of things. It's easier to let it fly underneath the radar. Pray for those people and keep it going than to correct the internal system.
It says each year 44,965 Americans die by suicide, and for every suicide, 25 attempts. And it's also saying that it's a very costly endeavor. It is $69 billion annually. How can suicide cost that much money? What is it?
dude, what do they take?
Coroner's
Definition
report.
The coroner's report.
to make sure it's not foul play, I guess.
Make sure it's not foul play. You got to think the means in which they are going to do it. So
Cleanup.
the cleanup. The how they're going to do it, just the time and the effort, it is a lot.
And it's expensive to die.
It is very expensive.
Funerals are expensive. They cost tens upon thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
For funerals.
what is going up is cremations, because
Absolutely.
they know that people cannot afford a funeral. Well, I can make way. I can at least get some money, with the cremation. So that's going up, and people know that.
Well, it says that firearms pretty much account for 51% of the suicides.
Yes.
Why is that the tool of choice? Because now they're doing a lot of hanging. I mean, all of a sudden, hanging is the new thing. I can't
Because
figure out
if you
how
shoot
you should do
if you
that.
shoot yourself correctly, it's instant. You're
Yeah,
done
it's
right
no
there,
suffering.
hanging. You're suffering. You're choking. You're
Yeah.
you're feeling
You're
all
feeling
of
it.
it.
All of it.
You're
Well,
feeling all of it
just
as you
like
go
with
through
Kate Spade,
Mhm.
Anthony Bourdain.
Mhm.
Then there was another girl that was with Sex and the City. Forgot her name. She killed herself. She was also in her 50s. All these people hanged themselves. And
Robin Williams.
Robin
also
Williams,
came out.
that's when I really started to pay more attention. But I'm just not sure if and all these people have everything they want.
Mhm. Well, I think again I think that's perspective. So when she asked why are white men killing themselves more
Right.
than anything else, there is a certain amount of pressure to perform. So when you're no longer able to perform, you have all of these people that depend on you. Your ego, at some point,
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
really
true.
allow you
To fail in any capacity.
And so when you do that, or if you do fail, you think about all the disappointment that you're going to put on all these other people. So instead of me dealing with it, me admitting to my failures, having to deal with my bruised ego, I much rather just end it. That's how you see a lot of
Because you're the
white.
weak link. In your mind, you're the weak link.
In your mind, you are the weak link. In everybody else's mind, you had it all. So
yes, somebody looking from the outside.
somebody looking
sounds
from
like.
the outside, you had it all. But what we don't realize is probably the amount of pressure that a person goes through when you have to deal with. You have to be everything to everybody. So that's why you have a lot of CEOs that kill themselves. When people was it Enron that had
Oh,
music,
yeah.
and all of these people who had people depending on them killed themselves because they couldn't deal with the pressure. And again, everything is great when you're going up. It's the fall
Absolutely,
that
absolutely.
takes a lot of
That's
pressure.
also what happens when you're living for everybody else.
Well, but
You
that's
know,
the
it's just
society
like
they live in.
social media.
They live
Everybody
for everyone
everybody
else.
is living for everyone else.
Everyone takes all the pictures so somebody can see them someplace else.
Right.
Everybody dresses this way so somebody can be like, "Oh, I want to be built like her."
Right.
it is always.
It's a constant.
It's a constant comparison. It's a constant. I'm not satisfied with myself. It's a constant.
Anxiety. It's
It
anxiety laden.
creates huge levels of anxiety. It creates esteem problems, which causes people to do extreme measures to look a certain way, which then at some time can result to somebody dying. Whether it is the level of diet pills that have sped your heart up to a certain point to where you have a massive heart attack, or you are emaciated because you don't eat, or you are overweight because you are eating out of depression and so you have a heart attack. It creates anxiety and it creates image problems. I think that people don't really think about.
I do think the internet and social media plays a big part.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
drugs also plays a big part.
Yes.
Really quickly, we have thank you, Dolores Harris, for commenting. She stated, "Truth is, the culture of the land has drastically changed society. Children and adults are influenced by outside forces and social media, gaming, celebrities, and very dangerous interactions with those who do not have their best interests at heart. Their identity is in the God, our Creator, but they seek it in every other place. This causes confusion, depression, vulnerability, lack of fulfillment, etc. So much to this."
And she's a pastor, so I guess she's also.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers. I mean, it's not
There
just
is.
not just the actual act, but I'm interested in what you have to say. So give us a call, 713-789-0096, and give us your perspective.
Absolutely.
Or check us out on
Doc,
Facebook
have
and
you
comment.
have you talked to any teens or students that actually before they went that far or actually went so far as to commit suicide or?
Absolutely. So the teens that I typically deal with, they have self-esteem issues, and it starts typically around elementary. You'll be so surprised, because I have a fourth grader, so I look now even more at kid dynamics. Girls are way worse than boys.
Are they really?
Oh man, they girls are
Drama.
the road and
They're learning it early,
drama,
right?
and they
Yeah.
learn it early, but the kids internalize it. So it starts with friendships and being the outcast and not knowing how to make another friend. You know, because you want to be a part of this crowd.
Of a tribe.
Yes, because everyone's in a tribe now,
Everybody's
right?
in a tribe. That's right. That's right.
So now, you know, this tribe doesn't want you. Now I have to figure out how to find another tribe. Now I have to do self-work because now you've made me feel like I am inadequate in some kind of way. And so because I feel inadequate, I am now down on myself.
And now there's pressure.
And now there is pressure. So now here we go, middle school. Middle school is probably the
These
biggest.
are children. These are little children. What do they know about any of this?
They see it all on
It's everywhere.
TV. You know, they see the growing up fast. They see the parents who maybe grew up a little underprivileged, now have some form of success, and now they give their kids everything. And now
That's
they
a
feel
whole
like,
nother problem.
and now they feel like their kids don't need to experience the struggle, don't need to experience, you know, what they went through. So now kids have access to everything. Well, you know, if you go to public school, you might have access to everything, but Joe Blow down the street doesn't.
Right.
And so as a result, Joe Blow sees you as a kid getting everything. You're 9, you got an iPhone, you know, you have all of these different sneakers, or you have all of these different toys, but she doesn't. And now, you know, and it's sad to say because parents, we teach our kids, you need to hang out with certain type of people.
We do.
Right.
You know,
We do
and
that.
so kids understand that now. They are way more vocal, so they will tell the kid who doesn't have it
That
Like,
you
ain't
don't
got
have
it.
that
That
you
That's
ain't
not
got
good
it.
enough.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not good enough. So now this kid, who could probably have all the potential of the world to supersede you as the child, you know, because they just have it in them. But now it is being shot down by another kid, and they don't have the capacity
to take that and bounce
take it
back.
and bounce back. So then that follows them. And so you get to middle school, then you get to high school, and now you have an emotionally broken adult that now nobody really cares about because, you know, society is focused on kids ages, you know, from infant to 18, and let's say 16 really, because in Texas, 17 you're a grown adult, you can be charged with a crime. That's where the attention and focus on. But now if I flew underneath the radar, if nobody ever saw it, now I am this adult who does not know how to function. Now what do I do?
Wow.
Brian has a question for you, Dr. Butler. He wants to know, what type of effect do you feel the adults and children going through the immigration fiasco here in America, how do you feel like, I guess, suicide plays into that? And we did hear about a situation where a father in jail committed suicide because he was separated from his children. They had that all over the news.
You know,
That's so sad.
It
Yeah.
is. It is so sad, and I hope this doesn't sound tacky. But it's a different day, a different time, a different set of people, same circumstances. You know, when I think about that when it relates to Black people,
Right.
you know, and
Right.
I can't say that we committed suicide
I get that.
when we were separated from, you know, our families
And put in
and all this,
cages,
and
all
put-
the same things.
Not to say that it did not exist, it just might not, it's probably not a record of it. You know, so for us, I feel resiliency for us as Black people is in our blood. Like that's just what we do.
Part of the DNA.
That is part of the DNA. And I just kind of feel like I get it. It is probably difficult for you to be without your kid. I don't know what that
can't
is
even
like.
imagine.
I can't even imagine what that is like. But I think that you will probably see a huge increase in kids not only committing suicide but experiencing lots of mental health problems as a
I was going to go
result
there next, but
of-
we've got a caller.
Okay, as
Hold
a result
on.
of
Caller,
that.
you're on the air.
Caller.
Okay, I guess they
Okay.
I got disconnected. Yeah, but mental illness is another thing.
Yes, sir. Did you hear them?
You know, going back to the families separated, it's going through the trauma. It's bad enough you already uprooted everything that you have. You gave up everything, and you have absolutely nothing but what's on your back, literally. And you come trying to find a better opportunity, trying to find something better and safer for your family, and then you come and you end up separated, ends up being worse. So I can see why. You know, it's just like I tried doing this, I tried doing that, and now I made it worse for my family. We were better off staying over there and just waiting for someone to kill us, you know?
Right.
I think our caller's back on the air. Caller?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Brian. How are you, ladies?
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's another day in paradise.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. My story, I'm sticking to it. So, I don't know, I typed in a question to the doctor about immigration and how they felt. I'm not sure if that was addressed or not.
Yes, actually, we just got through addressing it right before you called.
Oh, great. Okay. So yeah, it's that's something that our government is not looking at all, and I don't feel like any of those kids or adults, for that matter, getting any attention or consideration about that, and it's just going to be a matter of time that they report it, because I'm sure it had to be some suicide attempts or suicides going on in those what I like to refer to as concentration camps that's going on down at the border, or really all over America. It's these people up all over the place.
Now, Brian, they can't even keep up with how many kids they actually have and how many families were actually separated. So I seriously doubt they're going to keep a record
But you know what?
of, you know.
What I want to know is, what was the purpose of separating the families? Like, if you're going to take them all into custody, why not keep them together? What was the point of that? Like, and I think that is the question.
History
Nobody is
repeating itself.
That's what I said. It's history.
And I'm still shocked that even during slavery that they didn't all get together and commit a mass suicide, because if anything, I feel like they would have a reason.
We're strong. DNA wise.
And I'm surprised. And I figured they would have got together and said, let them come and find us all dead.
You don't need to kill yourself, because the white man's going to come and do it for you anyway at one point or another. So they're going to get to you first before you even have an opportunity to say, hey, let me do this.
Or at least kill your spirit, if nothing else.
Well,
once you kill a
well,
person's
there
spirit,
were
you got one.
suicides that happened. There were slaves that jumped off the ship.
Sure, absolutely. They could, yeah.
Correct.
Whenever they could, whenever they got the opportunity. There were definitely suicides. It was just not reported, or not widely reported in history. They don't, they just threw it away. There was no value to those people that committed suicide, so they didn't keep a record of it. They didn't report it, they didn't talk about it, they swept it underneath the rug. I feel like that there's been suicide in the African American community for a long time. It hasn't been reported until now. Now we're starting to hear about it. The news is starting to talk about it, but
still not
I
doing
think it's
anything
been
about
going
it.
on.
It probably has, because like everything else that's going on, we're the last ones to actually get statistical information about our own culture and things of that nature. So again, people are still seeing suicide as a white thing. You know, with minorities now kind of delving into it more and more.
Yeah.
Well, I think the increase in the minority population
It's making them pay attention.
Right.
Forcing them to have to pay attention.
And there is so much mixture. Before there's a lot of separation. Whether it is neighborhoods, whether it's school and churches, to where those things you didn't see them. So if you didn't see them, you didn't really know
They didn't
that
exist.
But now there's so much. We see it. We see everything. And I can, just remember be like, we don't do that. There's certain things like we don't do that. But our kids don't know that because they grow up with everybody.
Everything's been exposed.
And everything is exposed.
That's just like with OJ. I didn't believe that OJ killed this woman because that's not a way that black people would do things.
Right.
I mean, that's sad that we have a stereotypical.
See, and in my mind, I was like, he's a minority, he's a black man, but he's still around white people,
Right.
so it made sense to me.
Yes.
In that aspect, it made sense to me. Yeah.
Well, I think on that note, we'll have to go to break, and we shall
Thank you
be
so much,
right
Brian,
back.
for giving us a call. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Brian. Happy birthday.
it. Doctor.
Just a second.
You are listening to The Bridge. Share your opinion by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm your host, OMG, along with my co-host, Silky Smooth and Daydream. Please accept our invitation when we ask that you tune in to the All About You show, where we talk about the things that you think about.
We talk about love, conspiracy theories, and wellness. On All About You, nothing is off the table. Your thoughts and opinions drive the conversation.
Hi.
Thank you.
We're on a mission to get kids off the couch and into the kitchen, cooking from the colors of the rainbow.
I'm Chase.
I'm Chance. I'm Cassidy. And I'm Chandler.
And you're tuned in to The Bridge.
Stay
Coming
tuned.
back.
And we are back. Thank you again for listening to All About You. We are talking with Dr. Eboni Butler in regards to youth and minority suicide. Doc, for minorities, it basically says that, well, a lot of the meaning minority by way of a group, LGB, a lot of the teens are having issues with their identity, and that too can precipitate somewhere along the line wanting to kill themselves rather than. But now with everything out in the open, I can't figure out why LGB would be afraid to come out, because now we're celebrating their coming out. So how is that still an issue for that particular segment of the minority population?
I think we're celebrating, but not really celebrating. You know, I think it looks good to celebrate, but once the big pomp and circumstance is over, people have to go home.
And real life kicks in.
And real life kicks in, and not everybody's home is celebrating. So because not everybody's home is celebrating, now I have to deal with what the reality of whatever decision it is that I make about my life. So yes, I can have friends who support, but my friends are only there for a few hours every day. You know,
And they don't get to see it all.
they don't get to see it all. I still gotta go home to mom, you know, I still have to go home to dad, I still have to go home to the ridicule, I still have to go home to the questions, you know, and I think as parents sometimes we put on for the outside public even when our kids disappoint us.
We do.
You know, but when we get home we let them know how we feel about it, you know, so there is a lot of contradiction I think that goes on with kids and in their households and how they're supposed to conduct themselves, because technically as a parent nobody wants a kid who is going to cast a bad light in whatever that is,
Because it reflects off of you.
and it reflects
And
off
we
of
are
you.
concerned about
And
how
we are concerned
yes, we
about
are.
who people
Think we are.
think we are, what they're going to say, all of those things. So we try to make sure our kids are the best representation of us.
They have a show now that I watched a little bit of yesterday. I wasn't even aware that it was on. It's now on Netflix, and it's called 13 Reasons Why. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but
Heard
it's
of it, but I
it's
haven't
a new
watched it
show
yet.
having to deal with teens and all that they're going through. Drug use, abuse, suicide. So obviously suicide is a major issue now, because again, it's coming to the screen for kids to see. And I think they have something called 13reasonswhy.com, which is another way of reporting behavior or kids that need some direction, or I guess like a hotline. But see, I don't know if when you get to that level, is a hotline going to help, going to work, or what can we do to
I think the original intent and purpose about hotlines are great. You know, to give somebody an unbiased ear, to allow somebody to express their feelings. I think a lot of times when people are going through whatever they are going through, they want somebody who is connected to them. So therefore people don't utilize the hotlines like they should utilize the hotlines, because you want, you know, your mom, or you want your dad, your cousin, your best friend, somebody there to console you, not some stranger. It doesn't have the same effect.
Well, it doesn't touch you.
I know in high school, one of my friends, she told me she called the hotline. Like, I didn't think it was, you know, she was saying she was having problems at home, but I really didn't pay too much attention to it. You know, you're oblivious to all that until she said, well, you know, I called that teen hotline and it's really good. It really works. You know, it's somebody, like, it's completely anonymous. They didn't know who I was, but I got to talk about this, talk about that. And so for her, it helped because, you know, it was like Dr. Butler said, it was without judgment. It's just somebody, yeah, they're here because they want to hear me talk and they're going to let me talk, you know? And when we go to our circle of friends or, you know, that adult or a parent, we're talking, but we're also waiting for that backlash, waiting for your response, waiting for that judgment, and for you to correct how I'm feeling and correct how I behave. When that defeats the purpose. It's like I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm just asking you to hear me.
Yes.
And I think kids are not being heard now.
And that's exactly what
There's so much going on around them.
They don't have the ability to sit down and think, because their minds are going.
That's what I'm saying. These computers and cell
day.
phones, everything has.
There's never a time for them to just shut it off and to think and to get to know themselves as kids. I remember being a kid. But I go to your room and turn the TV on, just sit there and think.
That's true. We did have that.
And so the kids don't. Kids have TV in their room. They got cable in their room.
They got cell phones.
They are always. They're not provided an opportunity just to sit in silence and hear the ringing in their ear. They are not given that, and that's a huge problem, because it allows them to always escape. Instead of dealing with what the issue is at hand, they always have an escape. They will continue their lives escaping.
I think you just build up on you're building up on pain on top of pain.
Yes, and then you get to a breaking point. And then once it boils over and it comes to the surface and it's there, you don't know what to do. And then you have to go back childhood years, into seeing. Yes.
Why does the CDC have something to do with this? The Center for Disease Control. How is that involved in suicide per se?
I don't know. That's
a lot of the studies come from CDC, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, because they have to they gather the statistics for deaths, right, and mortality rates. So I assume they'd have to look into that to see.
Suicide.
Yes, they do. They do the statistics for that.
Wow, suicide is nothing to play with.
And people forget. Think about that moment when you come home, or how excited you are to get home from the day and just do nothing. People forget how important it is to reset.
Do nothing, yes.
Just that quiet, that just let me be, disconnect, and how refreshing and how comforting that is. And we're raising kids that have no idea what that is like at all.
They don't know what a reset button is.
Right. Yeah. What do I do? It's so quiet. It's no, I'm so used to this, that.
They're constantly loading.
Right. They don't know. Without white noise, it's deafening. It is very deafening without all the white noise.
Well, see, our society has already created that situation. I don't know how we can back out of that. We cannot. It's going to get progressively worse. More children.
More parents into their own. Because at one time it used to be when you became a parent. All that extra stuff was
gone. Right. It was extra.
But now parents are trying to figure out how to balance, still maintaining my lifestyle while being a parent. So it's
something has to give.
But nobody wants to give. Everybody wants everything without the look of the consequences that's going to come from giving.
Well, yeah, because I need to increase my Insta likes, and I need to,
because everybody,
be Insta famous and look good on Facebook.
Yeah. I think again, social media has created a major issue for us, and if we were to have someone come and talk to us, or we go talk to someone that we think may have issues, it says here that we are to remain calm and not get overly enthralled with what their intentions are, but kind of talk them out of it.
Yes.
And then also that we are not to promise them any sort of confidentiality.
Correct.
Because again, once you talk to them, you need to refer that information over. Is there an agency that you deal with or work with? What do you do in regards to children in situations such as this, when their parents say, "Listen, I think my son is, he's withdrawn. He's become more introverted. He doesn't go to class anymore. He does all the signs of being in pain. I don't know if it's mental illness, but just being in pain."
Well, I always encourage my parents to look for certain things in their kids, whether it's withdrawal, whether it is weight gain in some kids, whether it is a lack of attention that they have been given to certain things, whether it is a change in personality. Those are some of the key things that you can look at in your kids to see something is not quite right. And then that can give you a chance to get on top of it early. Once that happens, then you need to see if it just is at home or if they're having the same problem at school. that will say a lot too, because then that will influence their behaviors at school. That will kind of see what road we are going down. After that, and they feel as if, you know, the child needs something. If they don't have, you know, whatever necessary insurance plans to seek help, I always recommend them go to like the county agency. So MHMRA has a lot of resources for children, for adolescents, as well as adults. But that will at least help them get a starting point on a sliding scale in order to get the services that they are needed. Of course, does it come with a lot of red tape? Yes. You know, you have intake, you have to do all of these things. However, that little time that you spend thinking about it is worth saving the child. So, you know, when somebody says they are suicidal, you have to take yourself out of it. Take your feelings, take your needs, take whatever you got to do today. You know, take that out, put it to the side, and focus on that person, because you never know, that little bit that you did could be what saves
somebody's life.
Right.
You know, I've always considered suicide is pretty much a very closed-ended solution to an open-ended question that clearly makes a statement.
Right.
I think that we have to ask our kids. I'm in sales, so I'm always asking that open-ended question that makes you engage with me. Because if I just give you a one-line answer, then nothing is resolved, and that being your closed-in questions. But you know, parents need to engage their kids, find out how their day is going, find out what went on at school. But I don't know if parents have the time, because when they get home, they're exhausted.
Well, they're gonna have to make the time.
They do.
And I think parents should be a little bit more aware of how they present themselves to their children, because you are the blueprint for how your kids are going to be, and your kids can either follow in your footsteps or go the complete opposite direction, and that can be good or bad depending on what that is. But parents have to be more engaged, and parents can't allow kids to tell them no, because you as a parent, you are responsible. You have to be forceful. You know, you'd be like, oh no, we're gonna talk about this today. You know, you just can't let the kids shut you out. And you know, I know
stop being their friend.
I know a lot of
that's
parents.
a big problem.
Yeah, a lot of parents are into, I just want to give the child space. You know, I just want to give no.
We didn't have space. Our parents were
there was
all
no space,
over us.
no closed doors.
That's right. So you remember that?
Oh yeah,
And you didn't have a room.
my house.
Right, you didn't have a room. You had a place I let you stay
That's
in
right.
my
That's
house.
exactly
But
right.
it's not your room. It's where I let you stay.
Yeah, but now kids slam doors. And so,
no.
you know,
And
that
then you're
is,
afraid, and then they'll call CPS
and
on
then
you.
they are afraid. And now, but again, parents are giving kids that power. And parents have got to take the power back and be parents.
That's true, because again, we can't always be their friend, but again, if you have the opportunity to sit down and talk with your kids and ask them things about their day and what else is going on, I think it's very important that you do that. Doc, we have a couple of minutes left. I want you to kind of tell us what you think parents out there need to hear in relation to, as a medical professional. Now, as a forensic psychologist, would you be the one to go to court if there were situations such as this and something happened with a child,
Yeah, so
and
if
then that parent?
So if there's CPS involvement, which typically once, you know, if a child kills themselves or something happens and there's other children in the home, typically there will be a CPS investigation open, and either kids are removed from the home or they're placed on some type of monitoring. Usually I deal with the kids that are in the court system, so they have been removed from the home and the parents are now working services in order to get the kids back. So I will be called to court a lot of times to discuss whatever my findings were, if I did a psychological evaluation, to discuss key points of therapy, to discuss my professional opinion on whether or not the parents are suitable parents to raise the children.
Well, that's the question, because
That
now
is
I don't
the
know if
question.
they're suitable.
That's the question.
And therein lies the problem. Guys, again, make sure you talk to your children. Make sure that you are engaged and involved in every aspect of their lives. Be conscious of who their friends are.
Correct.
You know, because again, these kids, they're telling us no, and they're doing what they want to do. It doesn't help us at all. But until next week here, I think we've got to get up out of here. And we thank you for joining us, Dr. Butler.
All right, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, we always will. We
Oh,
always
absolutely.
bring you back on topics such as this.
All right.
You guys, you know, pay attention. If a youth comes to you, because sometimes they'll talk to someone other than a family member.
Absolutely.
So if somebody comes to you, take the time to listen.
Yes.
It could save somebody's life.
Amen. Good show, ladies.
Thank you. You're
thank you,
always a good. Always.
Thank you.
No problem. Good to see y'all again.
You too.